The final person comes out of the pod. Man, what a response. She is connected. That idiot online who used to wrestle for WCW who says, oh, if you don't speak English, you can't be a star, blah, 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 blah. For real, Asuka. God damn, dude.
Well, I told you, just a few weeks ago we talked about her, and I said that she is the biggest international talent that has made a connection since the Great Muta. And watching today, I thought maybe I would have to, swallow my words a little bit. But when she came out of that pod, I was like, no way. She's got it. Doesn't matter. I also told you this too, today through text, speaking of another match, that a lot of fans, but not just fans, dude, people in general, like the former WCW writer you're talking about, think that charisma can only be associated with bad humor or people acting stupid or, being this big, huge class clown, but it is not. Asuka she's the right person to prove me right there because she has so much charisma that she doesn't have to say anything. Same thing with Goldberg, who had so much charisma in WCW that he didn't have to say a word. People just were drawn to him. Again, Jeff Hardy, the same thing, had so much natural charisma. That's what charisma is. Not being funny at every single movement you do and every single moment you have on screen. Not trying to be this class clown. And that can equate to charisma, but it's not the only thing that equates to charisma. And a lot of people forget that. Like when they talk about Brett, not being a great promo back in his day, and I don't mean to tie this all back to Brett, and not having quote unquote charisma. He had to have charisma because if he didn't have charisma, he wouldn't be a Hall of Famer. If he didn't have charisma, then he wouldn't have the connection that he still has to this day, 23 years after the fact that he's retired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it blows my mind that some people say that an international star who can't speak English cannot be a star in America because she's proving us wrong. So did the Great Muta. So did Shinsuke.
I'm speaking specifically of Disco, talking about
of course,
Takeshita, which was going to be huge. Let me ask you this: when I first showed my kid wrestling, one of the first wrestlers I showed him is Great Muta. I love the Great Muta. The Great Muta, just awesome. But is Asuka in the States a bigger star than Muta? I kind of might argue yes.
In today's world, I think so. Yes. I don't know if she's hit that legendary status that Muta has hit, in the States. I think if you go out and ask any typical WWE fan, can you tell me who Great Muta is? And then after that, can you tell me who Asuka is? Asuka would get the more response, and then people would know who she is. I think throughout, if we take peak Muta in the States and peak Asuka, I don't know. Maybe they're pretty even, and I could be holding Muta to a higher standard because of who he is and how long I've been a fan. So, I don't know. I think at the end of her career, probably, I think she will be.
Can you imagine if Great Muta would have gone to WWE in the late 80s, early 90s instead of WCW? What kind of star he would have been, and also lots of Brett matches, lots of. Do you think that would have been a good fit for him,
dude? I don't think so. And, and I could be completely wrong. I don't think so. Because then, it was all about the promo and all about people talking. And that's what the matches were, the backdrop or an afterthought. Obviously when Brett came along later, that it kind of changed a little bit. But look, they brought in Hakushi, who I think was maybe not just as charismatic as Muta, but I mean, especially if you watch some of his Japanese stuff, he's very charismatic and an incredible in-ring performer. And the only time he had anything of any significance was with Brett. And so I think the only reason Muta didn't stick around WCW was because I think some of the people in charge of WCW saw how hot he was getting, and they probably didn't want him to get that hot. But I don't know. I think that Muta has done okay for himself as far as being a legend in the business.
One of the greatest ever, and Asuka's on her way there.